Number 6, the Raiders. Obviously, um, I
Well,
actually have Mason Graham here.
mm,
I think
really?
the Raiders would want to go defense.
Pair him up with Wilkins?
Pair them up, just kind of solidify that line. You just re-signed Crosby.
Yeah.
Um, I would have probably had them gone edge if they would have let him go, but I just think the defense with the Raiders has always been their identity. They don't really need a lot of what's kind of around the value here. They could possibly trade down if they don't draft one of these top defensive guys. But unless they are going Ashton Gentry, if that's what your guess is. But um, yeah, Mason Graham, for everything that you said that he would do with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think he would do with the Raiders.
I don't think his impact would be as big on the Raiders just because he'd be sharing more of the load with the others. But it look, the Raiders are another one where it's like pick a spot and you could improve it. Um the well, I actually, believe it or not, this is actually kind of crazy because I the way that we treated Jacksonville, just it, absolutely flip it. I think they need more weapons. I think the Raiders are devout of any good receivers. I think Jacoby, well, outside of Brock Bowers, let's get that out of the way. I'm just talking about the receiving core. Um, your best receivers, who? Jacoby Myers. Are we being for real right now? You're not winning games, but Jacoby Myers is your best wide receiver. I think with a glaring need at the position, no matter who's slinging the ball, you need to give them some weapons to play with. Brock Bowers is incredible, but you need someone else. And I think this guy's been getting, kind of pushed down the board for some reason. I'm not really seeing it. He's still my clear wide receiver one. The Raiders, I have taken Tet McMillan. I think he's everything you're looking for in a wide receiver one, and they need one badly.
Next, we got the Jets.
Mm.
I think another one where you could almost say throw a dart at the dartboard and just pick one.
How
Not a lot of positions. I mean, obviously, running back they don't really need.
Yeah.
Um, not a lot of positions that you could say they're set with.
Right.
So where do you have the Jets going with?
Well, so believe it or not, I actually do think they have it. Their offensive line is sneaky good with Joe Tittman, with Elijah Vera Tucker. They took Olu Fashanu last year. I think what better way? I think you just complete the line. I think with you lost Morgan Moses, who was just kind of like a plug and play or whatever. Tyron Smith, I don't even know if he's still with. I don't know what's going on with him, but it doesn't matter. He ain't your long term either. So I think, why not build up what is slowly becoming one of the more important, like probably the most important part of a team. I mean, we saw what Detroit did with their dominant offensive line, the Cowboys for years with Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, to in his prime. I think a strong offensive line is very important, and I think what better way to shore it up than taking what could be the best offensive line in this draft and Armand Menbu.
So him with you finally goes off the board. First offensive lineman at number 7.
Oh yeah,
That would be quite a steal, basically, for the Jets there. I think, I mean, obviously the Jets, like defensive backs, are their strongest, and maybe their linebacking core. I think they could probably use a couple
it wasn't too crazy.
linebackers, a couple of defensive linemen.
Yeah,
Um, their offensive line is kind of set, like you said. I mean, really only one or two pieces that you would have to add to it.
yeah.
Their wide receiving core, a little lack depth past really Wilson. Running back, they got Hall. They just lost Rodgers. They
That's
signed Fields. They have Travis, guy from Florida State. Travis.
Huh? Quarterback?
Yeah.
Travis.
What's his name? I'll have to find it in a second. I know they have two young quarterbacks. They got Adrian Martinez and the guy from Florida State. He tore his ACL like towards the end of the year. They missed the playoffs. Um, Travis Jordan, or I'm
Sure.
sorry, Jordan Travis.
Oh.
They were super upset that they almost went. I think like either they were undefeated or they only lost like one or two games
Oh.
that
Yeah.
year. They lost their quarterback. They weren't going to do anything anyway.
Yeah, they got screwed out of their seed, right? Or whatever. They got,
Yes.
yeah.
Um, they then they got like blown out in their bowl game.
Yeah.
Serves them right, but
Yeah.
I think they need quarterback, and if they don't trade up for him,
Oh.
I think this would be a solid place to put Shedeur Sanders.
Really? Yeah. No faith in Fields.
It's not that I don't have any faith in Fields. I think it's kind of the same thing of what you were saying with Sanders with the Giants, but here he's in slightly a better position. You have a defense that's only really missing a couple key pieces. Other than that, really kind of set.
Yeah.
An offense that has a couple key pieces, missing a couple key pieces, but other than that, it's kind of set. It's just a very tough division to play in. The division's going to keep getting tougher if the Patriots keep improving with Drake May. That looks like they have a solid quarterback. The Dolphins have Tua and a solid team, and the Bills have Josh Allen. So where is the Jets and their franchise quarterback? I think 7 standard. I think that fits. I think that fits the mold. I think that, even if he doesn't start this year, he can help them going forward. You can give Fields the chance to see the field and see what happens. If not, have Sanders ready. I don't really think Jordan Travis is
No.
going to be any kind of stellar weapon. I don't think Adrian Martinez is going to be any kind of stellar weapon. They like mobile quarterbacks, and Sanders seems to fit that bill.
I suppose so.
Number 8, we have the Carolina Panthers.
Now, let me tell you something. I reached.
I think I want to say I really just kind of took best available here outside of, I should say, best available skipping the running back.
Okay.
When you say best available, you kind of take the running back out of these equations.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because the running backs are generally highly rated. It's just the running backs. It's kind of like, you play a game and you got a lot of one resource and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. I have too much of this. Well, those are running backs to me.
It's like Minecraft,
kind of like a dime a dozen.
like iron. Like I have so
Like
much iron.
like after you build your first house, you don't
Yeah.
need those 8 stacks of dirt that you keep in your
or the stone
chests.
Like, what am I gonna do with this?
Yeah, you just kind of forget about them. You
Yeah.
put them off to the side.
I just make a whole new chest and I just
And
bury it.
Then you have an idea to build something. And you're like, oh, where'd I put all those? And
It's
then you
true.
take a couple of them of the stacks and you just leave the rest in there to rot for another while. Yeah, that's what I think of running backs in drafts. So best available to me at this point would have been Jalen Walker, the edge from Georgia.
Okay.
I think he would kind of I can't even say solidify anything.
No. They're on the up though.
They're on the up. Bryce Young looked pretty
Better.
solid. He doesn't look like a complete bust.
No.
He started to really make people doubt him, and I think he's trying to turn it around. Maybe because of Andy Dalton, who knows? But the Jaguars to me, were really, or I'm sorry, the Panthers to me were almost an anomaly. Like they should have been the worst team.
Yeah.
They should have had the worst record. They were playing terrible teams this year and got enough wins to not have the top spot.
Yeah, Adam Thielen's your best receiver. It's not good.
I like Thielen.
I like Thielen, but he shouldn't be your one.
He shouldn't be a one at 34.
He's up there.
He's definitely up there in age. But he was never about the speed. He was always about
finesse.
Technique, route running.
Absolutely.
And he can still play.
Brings his lunch pal to work.
Pretty solid for a guy like him. At his age, at his position, that's very respectable. Not a lot of guys can play until even past 30. But I think here, that's why to me it's just Panthers best available at this point. It would be the edge.
Well, we're on a similar wavelength. I also have them taking an edge, but I have one who I think is an athletic freak. I think has everything you're looking for. He probably needs a little more polish, but just the intangibles and the tools are there, and I think he has some things that you can't coach, and I think that matters now. This might be a little bit of a reach. I don't see a lot of people taking him this high, but I am a firm believer in this guy. With the 8th pick, I'm taking Shamar Stewart for the Panthers.
Well, that is a bit of a reach. I don't have him going. I have him going first, but not for a bit. Jeez. Number 9, New Orleans.
You know what they're going to be doing? They're going to be going right down the road to LSU, knocking on that door. Be like, hey, Willie, want to be a Saint? And Willie's going to be like, not really. And you're like, well, too bad. We're drafting you. Will Campbell going to New Orleans. This offensive line is putrid. It feels like a lot of their picks just haven't hit. When I think of Andrus Peat, when I think of the guy they just took, I don't remember his name, but I think he's like okay. It's just a Toronto. They're still feeling the effects of losing a Zach Strief, a Teron Armstead. No, I'm not Zach Strief. I'm sorry, I'm going way back. That's my bad. Ryan Ramczyk, who's just I feel like contemplating retirement every year. He keeps getting hurt. I don't know what's going on there, but I think you need something to help bolster it up, even if it's not rotation, but even if it's just for versatility. Like you said, he could play tackle, he could play guard. They need both. So why not just shore up or try to help Derek Carr out with some more time in the pocket, get Will Campbell?
I'm going to kind of piggyback off something you said. They've been a team that hasn't hit on a lot of their last picks. No. I think it was very hard for them to find a coach that actually wanted to go there. Yeah. They need a lot. They're a bad team.
And a bad cap situation too.
Terrible cap situation. I think they need an automatic hit.
Okay.
This is my pick where I'm saying this is probably the least likely, but I think it's the best fit. I think it's the one that they need to hit this pick. They need to start with a foundation to help build off of. Ashton Gentry going to the Saints. Him and Kamara could be a nice combination. Kamara is also getting older.
It's true.
I think you can kind of keep that train going. Once Kamara starts to lose a step or two, put Gentry in there full time. This isn't the year to get a quarterback, to the build from a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I think you get the next best thing. The guy you might get next year, give him a running back. Or the guy you might try to get later in the draft, get him running back. You need an offensive lineman. You need a lot.
Yeah.
But, with Will Campbell here, I don't think it's a great fit. Like you said, I think he needs to go to a certain team that will either put him at guard or put him at tackle and just give him a chance. And I don't think with the amount of injuries that they have, and their offensive line every year. I just think it's too wishy washy. You can't just keep moving the guy around to different positions the whole year. It takes a toll. And I think this year they need a good pick, and Ashton Gentry is perfect for them. At 10, we have the Bears. Much improved,
Yeah.
but they kind of let a lot of people go. Their wide receiver core is definitely not what it was hoping it could be. Um, but at 10 here, I don't have them going offense. They kind of need to help that defense a little bit. So I got them taking the first corner, Jahdae Barron out of Texas.
Paired with Jalen Johnson.
You put him with Johnson, he doesn't have to be the one right away. Kind of help build them up. They have a somewhat solid defense. Wouldn't say it's spectacular. Some pieces they need, defensive line, linebackers, they're kind of set at. They're good enough. They definitely need somebody to play on the other side of Johnson, though.
That's fair. I mean, they've been trying to get back because when you think of Chicago, you think of defense. You think of the '85 Bears. You think of me personally. I think of like Julius Peppers, Brian Urlacher. I think so. I mean, it's only true to form that Chicago tries to build up that defense. However, who's their coach? Ben Johnson. Where'd he come from? Detroit. What did Detroit have
Solid defense.
besides that? The best
Really weird picks
the best running game in the league.
that worked out.
Speaking of that, like Jahmyr Gibbs, weird picks that worked out with number 12. So why not? So if you're Ben Johnson, you see that they've bolstered this offensive line this offseason. They traded for Jonah Jackson. They traded for Joe Thuney. They did something else. Who'd they get? They got someone else, didn't they? Oh yeah, they signed the center from Drew Dahlman from Atlanta. So they built up that interior. I think it's for a predominant run game. You have DeAndre Swift. We saw last year with Knuckles and Sonic there, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So why not have DeAndre Swift pair up with Ashton Jeanty to form that 1-2 punch Ben Johnson would love to have?
That's why I chose the Raiders, choosing a defensive tackle with my pick, because the Raiders, same thing. You think of defense, like the Steelers, you think of defense. I do kind of agree with you. It would be good, but like I said, I think unless they trade up, I think this. I don't think the Saints will draft him at 9, but I think the Saints should draft Gentry at 9. The San Francisco 49ers. Let a lot of people go this year.
Oh, it's an understatement. I think there's might be still more to come.
But I think with all their people that they left, they need a corner. We're on corners now. Corners back to back in mind. We got Will Johnson from Michigan.
Really? I think corners their most glaring need right now?
Not most glaring, but I think, best available. He should be a solid starter. So, I mean, you lost your one.
Yeah.
You need
very unfortunate circumstances, by the way.
You need a guy to cover him. And, everything else I see on your board, I can probably bet where you're going, but he's already gone on mine. So
then you do not
I think
know where I'm going.
I'm on corner here.
My guy is not. This guy I'm about to take has not been taken by you yet.
Okay, then who do you got?
We're going Michael Williams.
Yep, that was the other guy I was looking at actually when you said he wasn't off the board
yet. We saw last year, I think, when Nick Bosa got doubled, the Niners couldn't generate anything, no pass rush, no pressure, no anything. I think Michael Williams has the potential to be the best defensive player in this class. Just because the edge class, I think the edge class is super good this year. I think you really can't go wrong with any of these first round guys. But there are just some that, you know, the athletic profile, their what they did. Also, with real quick, I want to go back to Shamar Stewart. He had 4 sacks in his career, right? But that the sack number nowadays it's very deceiving. You don't look at that. We're looking at the pressures. You're looking at everything else. So before I hear anyone saying about the sack, the production, blah 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 blah, whatever. You know who's got great production? Mike Green. You know who's dropping every day? Mike Green. But I digress. Michael Williams. I think you pair him up with Nick Bosa. I think that can only do good things for your once fantastic defense.
Took them to the Super Bowl twice, basically.
It's true. Off their backs.
In the last 4 or 5 years now.
Carried Brock Purdy.
12. Dallas Cowboys.
Mm.
A lot of things that they can do as well. They're always a trump card. They're a wild card. They never really choose who you think they're gonna. I think this year, first wide receiver off the board. Well, technically second, because I don't know what Travis Hunter is going to do with the Giants.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tech McMillan, wide receiver. I think he'd be a good weapon to add to help CeeDee Lamb. Going 12, I think, in this draft, could definitely get there.
Yeah.
They probably don't have to trade up for him. But you know, you can put him in the slot. You can put CD in the slot. You can have him go outside. He can do a lot for the Giant or for the Cowboys, and they need another weapon to go alongside CD.
I'm glad you said that because I also have to take a receiver, but they're going to stay in state. They're going to take a combine standout Matthew Golden out of Texas. I think same thing with a different player than Ted. But I completely agree with you. I think CeeDee Lamb needs help. He's getting doubled. He's getting whatever. The main goal against the Cowboys is just double CeeDee and then, you know, find a way to take care of Jake Ferguson, whether it's, you know, leave a guy back or whatever you got to do. But those are their 2 main pieces. If you can take them away, the Cowboys are kind of done. So you need another guy, another boundary guy to help CD. And I think with what's on my board, Matthew Golden is the best player available for him. 13. Them damn Dolphins. Go a lot of ways here. I think maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can help me out here. I think the Dolphins roster is better in theory than it is in reality. I think they got a lot of big flashy names, but I don't think they're producing the way people think they
are. You know, they kind of rode the 2 years ago when they made the playoffs. Tua was still 3 years ago they made the playoffs. 2 years ago they made the playoffs. Last year they missed the playoffs. 2 years ago, Tyreek Hill had an amazing year.
Oh yeah.
Tua was healthy. Last year, it seemed like Tyreek Hill lost a step. He's getting older now. He's in his 30s. That happens. And now you don't have 2 guys that can just stay outside.
Yeah.
And Tua keeps getting hit. Tua keeps missing a lot of games. I think on paper, they got a good solid team, but if he keeps taking these hits, and you can't even say taking the hits, he got hurt just not sliding.
Yeah.
I think it was a 4th down play, but you know, he didn't even really hit his helmet hard against
Damar
Hamlin,
yeah.
The Grim Reaper. He almost ended Tua's career.
It's true.
And it wasn't even his fault. Tua just hit his helmet on him.
Yeah, it was just normal football.
And went down. Started doing that fencing again. He's out for another month. You can't win games when you have to play backup quarterback for a good chunk of games
I agree.
and expect to win the division.
Well, you actually, I don't know if you intentionally did this, but you teed me up perfectly because I think their number one goal, no matter what they do, is protect Tua. And what better way to do that than um, what many people are still kind of confused. Not confused, but they're still a little wishy-washy, kind of like with Will Campbell. I think some of them have said he's going to play guard. I think some of them said he's going to play tackle. I think it's going to be kind of a see where they're going to need him. I think it's going to be tackle only because this is my second time mentioning him. Teron Armstead's been in and out of the lineup. I know they've been really counting on him to be the anchor, but he's just for whatever injuries. I think in his age have kind of catching up to him. I think Calvin Banks, back-to-back Texas players. I think Calvin Banks here is the best pick for Miami to help protect Tua at all costs at this point.
Yeah, I definitely have them taking an offensive tackle as well. I got them taking Campbell here, um, really just for the whole point of versatility. You want to put him at tackle, guard, anywhere you can really put him to help Tua stay on his feet.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. And I really think somewhere, if Campbell lasts here, they'll take him. If not, then I think they'll definitely take Banks from Texas. We got 14. We got the Colts. I got the second tight end coming off the board, Colton Loveland, Michigan. They really just kind of need to help Richardson
Or don't,
develop.
or Danny Jones.
I don't see Danny Jones. Danny Dimes is not Danny throwing dimes anymore. He never did. He never was.
I'm just saying.
He's going to probably be a backup for the rest of his career. I think he's a solid player. I don't think
But we'll see. We'll see when Campbell's around.
he might get a couple chances. Richardson might go get hurt for a week or two, running around too much. I don't know. It depends on how well he develops. You were kind of hoping he would turn into almost like a Josh Allen. He had the arm. He had not as good of an arm as Allen, but he had the size. He had the speed. Somewhat comparable arm, but it was basically the same situation.
Yeah.
Except Allen played more college games. Richardson really only played like the 1 year. You were hoping that he could be almost the same. You're going to try to develop him, but now you can't give him new coaches every year. It's not going to help. You got to give him players. He's got Pittman. I would probably say another wide receiver. Maybe they can kind of get Golden here, but I think tight end, I think, is starting to become the biggest mismatch in the league. I think it really has been for the last several years. It's better to have an elite tight end than elite wide receiver. I've always stood by that. I think Loveland could develop into an elite tight end. I think they could do well with that pick.
I'll make this short and sweet. Take whatever you just said and apply it here because I have my first tight end going off the board for the Colts, but I have Tyler Warren, who I think is one of the better prospects we've seen. Not as good as like a Brock Bowers or this is going to sound kind of funny now saying it when we have hindsight, but Kyle Pitts. But this is a legit top 10 end prospect. And I think it's a position that the Colts have been dying to find. For like you said, they haven't had a great tight end in a while, and I think that would help out their offense tremendously.
I thought they had a pretty solid one with Andrew Luck. They had
Dwayne Allen.
No, there was another one.
Oh, Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, he was okay for them.
He was okay.
They've always tried to use it. They just never really have. I would say their last elite tight end they had was Dallas Clark.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Back when Peyton Manning was playing for them 20 years ago.
Also, shout out my boy Mo Alley Cox.
15, we got the Falcons.
I think the Falcons are a interesting case. to where I think they should have been a lot better than they were, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. I think their defense still needs some help. They just lost Grady Jarrett, which I think is going to be a bigger problem than I think people were expecting. Just because I think, yeah, I know he's starting to slip. I know he's out of his prime, but I still think he was an important piece. But with that being said, I think Edge needs really bad help. I told you this last year. I think they made a miss. I know it's kind of working out now, kind of, but I think they made a mistake not taking Dallas Turner. I think they needed to address Edge, and I don't think they got much pressure at all. So I think they try to right that wrong this year, and they take Jalen Walker out of Georgia to try to. Plus, he's got that versatility of he can play a little linebacker, play a little edge, which you need both anyway. So I think he fits a need for him.
I also have them going in-house edge here. I got them taking Michael Williams. Kind of for the same reasons. He's just more of an athletic.
Yeah.
My whole thing of him is, yeah, he's more athletic. What would a team value more, athleticism, versatility? It's kind of those are the two biggest things.
Yeah.
What makes a player more important? It's versatility, availability, and athleticism. When you got one guy that's more versatile, one more guy that's athletic, really just in house, they're going to keep that quiet. So I completely agree. I think they're going to go with an edge. We'll see who's the better prospect in everyone else's eyes. Sure. This one, I could definitely see them trading up, though, to try to get their guy that they want.
An edge still?
Yes. Whether they want to go for Jalen Walker or
one of the Georgia boys, maybe.
Like I said, everyone might just like Williams because he's more athletic.
Yeah.
And it's going to make the price go up a little bit. Everyone's going to want to trade up.
I think the potential is higher with Michael, to be fair.